All right, class, good afternoon. Today we are going to be talking about div tag and how we can make use of div tag. And if time permits, we'll also be able to uh, make use of, we'll also be able to introduce ourselves to the applications of some HTML tags that we have dealt with over the last few classes. So without wasting much of our time, I'll just go straight to the class, to the point. All right, so here is my screen and here is my text editor. So I'm going to open, okay, let me just, so I'm going to set this to HTML. So I've done that. So let me set my foundation. So that is that. So today's class is going to be focused on div tag, how we can make use of div tag. All right, div tag is given in this form, and the div tag is a short form for divide. Div tags allow us to partition or to divide the page of the website into different sections, such that you can now work on each of these sections independently without affecting the others. And to be able to work on a specific div at a particular point in time on a particular page, you need to introduce a class to that div. So in this case, I'm going to introduce a class. I'm going to call this class, let's say, parents. No, let me use secondary school. So that's what I'm going to call it. So I'm calling this div, I'm giving this div a class name called secondary school. Now, in secondary school, we can have two categories. The first category we could have, so I'm going to create another div and give it a class name also of junior school. That is the first category, junior school. All right, so we can also have the second category, which is the senior school. So I have senior underscore school. Or let me just use senior and junior. All right, so now what does this mean? This means that in a school, in a secondary school, which is the parents div, as you can see, the parent div is open here and it's closed here. In a secondary school settings, you can have two blocks. The first block is the junior block, and the second block is the senior blocks. So you can see another way you can interpret this is to saying this parent secondary school gave birth to two children. The first child is junior, and the second child is senior. All right. You agree with me that in junior school, we can have three classes. We can have the first class to be the JS1 class. So I'm going to call this a class also. JS1, so I'm going to call it JSS underscore 1. You can have also, let me copy and paste to speed up this process. Copy and paste. So we can have three classes in the junior section. You can have JS1, JS2. I can as well have JS3. Likewise, I can have also three classes for the senior as well too. So I can have the SS1, let me copy and paste. SS1, then I'll change this to SS2 and this to SS3. All right, so another way you can do this is by you, let me just say, div.html. Okay, all right, so another way you can interpret this is by saying that this parent's secondary school gave birth to two children. So junior and senior. So the parents, or let's say mother, the mother of junior and senior is secondary school. Junior now gave birth also to 3 children. Senior also gave birth to 3 children, such that the children of senior are grandchildren to secondary school, and the children of junior are also grandchildren to secondary school. Now, what does this mean? Is that we can give any instruction you want to pass to the junior, any instruction that will affect GS1, GS2, and GS3. That instruction will be passed to the junior schools. So that instruction passed to junior school will be binding on GS1, GS2, GS3. Any instruction passed to the senior categories will be binding on SS1, SS2, SS3. But that instruction passed to the senior classes will not be binding on the junior classes. Instruction also passed to the junior classes will not be binding on the senior classes. But any instruction passed to secondary school will be binding on senior and both junior. And once it is binding on senior and junior, it is binding on their children as well. So please take note of that. I take that part again. Whatever instruction that is passed to secondary schools, that instruction will be binding on all junior school students and all senior school students. But if there be a specific instruction passed to senior students, that instruction will not be binding on the junior students. If there is also a specific instruction passed to the junior students, that instruction will not be binding on the senior students. Likewise, you might also pass a specific instruction to the JS1 students, and that instruction might not be binding on the JS2 students nor the JS3 students. Likewise, you can do the same for JS2 and JS3. You can as well pass instruction to the SS1 student, and that instruction is not applicable to the SS2 student nor the SS3 student. So that is exactly how you should understand D. So also, we can now control each of these Ds using our style sheet. Now, so let me create a style that will control this. So I'm going to set my environment IDE to CSS rather. So I'm going to set it to CSS. So I'm going to set it to CSS. So now I've set it to CSS. So let me just save the page. So I'm just going to save the page now. So I'll just save it as div.css. Okay, div.css. So, okay, it's done. All right, so what do I need to do? The first thing you need to do anytime you are creating a style sheet, first of all, type in your asterisk sign, which means select all, then open your parentheses, set your margin to 0, set your margin to 0, make it a constant K, please. Set your margin to 0, set your padding as well to 0, and save your work. Now, for you to be able to control the HTML content with your style sheet, you need to establish a relationship between your style sheet and your HTML. Now, to do that, you come here and use what we call the link tag. You can see, take this off, delete this. All right, so this will allow you to establish a relationship between the style sheet and your HTML content. All right, so what you need to do now is just type in div.css. Now, but if your style sheet is inside a folder. The name of that folder comes first, then followed by the style sheet name. All right, so that is that. So for me to have done this, it means that whatever instruction I pass to any class in the HTML through this CSS, it will take effect. But without this particular tag, I will not be able to control the content of this HTML using my style sheet. All right, so the first thing I want to do now is to pass an instruction to my secondary school class. So at any point in time you want to invoke a class from your style sheet, you use this dot sign followed by the name of that class, which is secondary underscore school. Okay, you need to be sure of the name. You can see here I use a capital S, so I'm going to change it. Please avoid using uppercase in your code. So I have secondary underscore school, so secondary underscore school. I'm going to open the bracket. All right, so what I'm going to do, I want to set the width to 100%, and I'm going to set the height as well to 100 vertical height. So 100% here is a unit, so that I'm saying that the secondary school div container should take the whole screen of whatever device I'm using to view the page. So it should take the whole screen, that's what it means. And that the height should be of about 100 vertical height. All right, I haven't done this. If I go back to my browser, if I view in browser, I'm not expecting to see anything here because by default, our div usually has a background, a transparent background. So we will not be able to see anything yet. Usually have a transparent background. Okay, sorry, I think I went to open the folder. I'm going to close it now. And that was what I chose. So I'm opening browser. So I'm opening in browser now. So let's see what happens. Okay, as you can see, I have nothing displaying here because by default, div container usually have a transparent background, except you state otherwise. So I'm going to give this a background color, say red. I'm going to save. At any point in time you make a change, always make sure you save your work. So you can see now. So that is why, because I set it, the width to 100%, that's why every page on the screen becomes red. And you can see it means the height of the screen by default is 100 vertical height. And that is why you are not having a scroll bar. If I increase it now, if I increase it, let's say I increase it to 150 vertical height, and I save, I go back and refresh, it means that it will be more than the height of the screen. Then I can scroll down. You can see you have a scroll bar here. So, but if you want it to fit into the screen exactly, so 100 vertical heights, we just do that for you, and you can refresh, and you can see the scroll bar has disappeared. All right, now I now want to go to junior. I want to pass instruction to the junior category and the senior category. Don't forget that secondary school gives birth to 2 children, junior and senior. So I want to pass instruction to senior and junior. Now, before you do that, before you can go to the junior school or the senior school of a particular secondary school, you need to first of all enter the compound of that school. You need to first of all enter the compound of that school. So that's exactly. So before you can get to junior school, before you can get to the senior school, you need to first of all enter into the compound of the secondary school. So I'm going to have secondary school first. So it is when you are in the compound of that school, then they can now direct you to junior school. So now junior. Okay, I open the bracket. So what did I want to do? I want junior to take over the width of junior to be let's say the width of junior to be 100% also. That is, it should take 100% the same width as the parents' secondary school. And its height to be, let's say, let me say, blah, 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 blah. Let me say 50 VH. 50 VH. All right. Okay. If I go back to my browser now and refresh, I'm not going to see anything because I told you by default, Div usually has a transparent background. So I'm going to set my background to white. So I'm going to give Junior a background color of white. So I'll save and let me refresh. Okay, nothing is happening. Oh, look at the way I spelled my Junior. So you need to spell the name correctly, otherwise nothing will happen. So I save my work now. I'm going back and let me refresh. Oh, nothing is happening yet. So what's going on? Okay, so let's go and check what exactly is the problem. Okay, here I look at the way I spell my Junior. This is not how to spell Junior. Okay, so I go back now. I've corrected the spelling. I've saved. Then I go back. Now I can refresh. Wow, fantastic. You can now see that I have white. It's more like, you can see, don't forget I gave Junior the width of 100%. So it will be as wide as the parent. And its height should be 50 vertical height, which is exactly half of the height of his parents. So you can now see that the white took half. So let me also do the same for, let me just copy and, I'll copy and paste this. I'll copy and paste this. Here, I'll now change this one to senior. I'll change this one to senior. But in this case now, I'm going to give this one color blue. Color blue. I'll save, go back and refresh. All right, can you see now? So this lower part is the senior and the upper part is for the junior. And you can see that they are lying beneath each other. So I can as well tell, there's something I need to do as well too. If I don't want them, I can tell the parent, this is the way, how do I want it to display? I can tell the parent how I want the parent, how he or she should display his children. So I can go like, let's say flex. Let's see flex. Let's see what's going to happen. Flex simply means allowing the children to arrange themselves side by side. You can see by now they are beneath each other, on top of it, behind each other, or whichever way you want to say it. But if I say flex, so that means I want them to appear beneath each other. You can now see now side by side to each other. So in that case, you can now see that they are now side by side. That is flex for you. Another way you can do this is by saying display grid. Also what we call grid. So for you to know the difference between grid and flex, so let's go back now and refresh. So you can now see this is grid display. So when I say grid, display like that. When I say flex, you have it that way. So I have it like flex. Okay, so let's have flex. Okay, so I have that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is let me change this so that we can have it 100 also. Let them have, you can see we here now, but right now they have what we call what's it called, 100 width, 50 height. So okay, so let me change it to 100. Now that I said they should display flex as side by side to each order. So in that regard, I will change this also to 50% because don't forget that we said the parent is 100, so the children will receive 50-50 of the 100. Okay, so I'll say, come back here and let's refresh. Okay, you can now see. So this junior is having 50% of the screen. Senior is also having 50% of the screen, and they all have the same height as their parents, 100 vertical height, 100 vertical height. So now, don't forget that junior now gave birth to children. Okay, the first child is JS1. So before you can enter JS1, you have to enter into the junior section. So you have to go through, and before you get to junior, you have to enter the school. It's from the school you go to the junior section. From the junior section, you can now be directed to JS1. So we have JS1. So dot JS, is it JSS1 or JS1? Okay, I said JSS1. So we have JSS1 underscore 1. You can now open your parentheses. Okay, you can open your parentheses. All right, so let me copy and paste this. I'll copy and paste because we have JS1 to JS3. So I'm going to change this to JS2, and I'll change this to JS3. Okay, JS3. The same thing is what I'm going to do for this. I'll copy and paste for the senior classes. So I will have also dot SS1 open parentheses. I'll copy and paste. Copy and paste. So I will now have SS2, and I have SS3. Okay, so that will be that. So I can save my work. You're not going to see any of this yet because I told you by default, Div has what we call, how will I call it, transparent background. So let's start with the junior. Don't forget that GS1, GS2, GS3, going by our default, the parent of GS1, GS2, GS3 is junior. And the parent of SS1, SS2, SS3 is senior. So now, let's go back to our style. So I want to set the width of GS1 to 100%. Now, what does this 100% mean? Don't forget that the inheritance of junior is 50% of 100% of secondary school. So now, what I'm now saying is that if out of this 50% width, out of this 100% width of secondary school, the junior school occupies 50% of it. So we are now telling GS1 to also occupy on the whole 50% width of junior school. So that means the GS1 will be of the same width with junior. So that's why I'm using 100% here. It's the same thing as saying 50%. Okay. So but what it means that 100% of this 50%. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing for GS2 as well too. And also JS3. Okay. All right. No, don't let me do that. Let me do something like, now that I have 100%. So let me just say 30. Let me just say 30% width, 30% width, 30% width. So you can now see that out of the 100% of the 50%, I have used 90% of this 50%. So then I will still be having 10% left. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that 10% can now be, the 90% now can now be made, let's say, maybe 45 over 50 or 40 over 50, whichever way. All right, good. So let me set their height also. Let me say set their height to, let's say, don't forget that the height of the, in this one, I want to, let's set the height to 100, no, it's 100 VH. So let me give it 30 VH, each of them, 30 VH. You still need to work with the range of values that you have given their parents. VH. Okay, so that is that. Now, let's give them a background color, each of those classes. So I'm going to say GS1 yellow, Okay, I can say JS2. Let me say JS2 silver, and here I can have JS3 what purple. JS3 purple. Okay, good. So that is that. Now don't forget that the parent of JS1, JS2, JS3 is Junior. So I want to tell Junior how he's going to display his children. So display your children flex. Display them flex. Okay, so let's go and see what happens. Oh, fantastic. Excellent. All right, so let me give them height. Height. Let's set the height to, let's say 80. Their height to 80. So let me say, come back here and refresh. You can see the remaining 20 VH is the bottom part. As you can see, yellow, silver, and purple. And you don't forget that I said 30, 30, 30. So the remaining, no, this is 50%. And this is going to be, they're taking 90% of the 100% of 50. That is that. So now another thing I can do, so let's repeat the same. Let's just repeat the same for, let's do the same for the senior secondary school. But this time around, let the senior secondary school display its own children as grid. Grid, okay. So, and I'm going to set their width to 100%. I think they should have the same width, but their height is going to be, let's say, 30%. Let me just use VH. Let me give this one a background color. What background color should I give? Background color. Let's say orange. Let me use orange. Orange. Okay, so I'll copy, and come here to paste. Also, let me give this one. What other color again? Let me give it black. Okay, copy and paste, and this will be color. Black boys, rabbit, yellow girls. Let me say violet. Okay, so like that. So let's go and check. So you can see I asked one to display his children flex, and I asked one to display his children grid. Okay. Wow, fantastic. You can see now this one displays its own children in grid, and why this one displays its own children what's it called? In flex. All right, so let's just add one or two things to it. There's what we call padding. Okay, there's what we call padding. So I'm going to do something like, what do I do? Okay, yeah, let's come here. You can say align content, align item. You can choose center for the parent. That is where we want it to align his children. So let's go. Okay, it's not aligning anything. Okay, it's not aligning anything. I don't know why it's not aligning anything. If it's not aligning anything, like Yoruba people will say, so there's always a way out of this. So if this is not working, I'm going to use what we call justify content. Now the justify content and display flex are mostly used alongside with display flex. So justify content, okay, I've not chosen what I want. I can now use, let me use space between. There's what we call space around. We have space around, we also have space between. Okay, so let me use space around and let's see what happens. Wow. Something is definitely not right. Okay, let's use justify content with ask it to display. Okay, in that regards, justify content. Let me use space between first and let's see what happens. Nothing is happening. Okay, then in that regards, what I'm going to do, let me see. I'm going to use padding. Let me use padding. So we're going to have padding. Padding. Let me set padding to 20 feet and 24 pixels. So I'm going to copy this and let's see what happens. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to do that for all. I'll copy this, paste, copy, and paste. Like that. Come back and refresh. Wow. Okay. So I'm just going to do something like, let me reduce it to 5, 10, let me do 5, 10, okay. So this also will be 5, and let's say 10. Let's go back and refresh. Okay, so that's that. So let's set margin. Margin. Let's set margin to, let's say 5 pixel. Let me use 10 pixel. 10 pixel. I think what I should have used here should have been margin. Let me use margin first. Pardon me. Because of my time, I have to be fast. Let me use the margin. So here also, let me use margin instead of padding. In our subsequent class, I'm going to explain the difference between margin and padding. Okay. All right. So let's come back here and refresh. All right. Exactly. That's this is exactly what I want. So instead of padding, I'm supposed to use margin. You can now see I have that space there. Okay, so you can do the same for these ones as well, for the senior. Okay, for the senior SS1, you have it there. You have it also, but even though they're already padded, okay, you can have it like that. So you can see it's there already. Okay, you can see that there's space all around it. There's space all around it. Okay, so there is going all out. So that this is already padded. So I don't think, let me show you the padded. There's already a margin. So there's no need for me to put this. All right, so what I just want to show you is how to use the container. All right, you can see the space between them. So let me just remove the background color for the parents, which is blue. I'm taking that out. Okay, all right. So the red will appear. Don't forget that secondary school we use red. So let me take the red out also so that you don't see. So the red also. So let's take all of this out. The color, I was using the color for their parents so as to guide us to knowing if we are doing the right thing or not. Okay, fantastic. You can see what I have. So you can, this is just like I rightly said, your div allow you to partition your page. You can see different ways that I've partitioned this to div, like that. As you can see, like that. You can make them, they're also responsive. You can see that they adjusted themselves to the size of the screen. That is one advantage of using grid and D. No matter how small, they will continue to adjust themselves to fit the screen size of whatever device that you are using them on. So I want to inspect this. You can see I want to do some inspection. You can see this is let it finish loading. I want to do some inspection. Okay, so I think this is the desktop view. These are going to be on desktop. So let's check on mobile. It's going to be. See, this is how it's going to display on mobile. And this one is iPhone 10. iPhone 10. These are going to display on iPhone 10. You can see this thing. You can walk around them. Let me choose another one. Let's use iPhone 6 Plus. These are going to display on iPhone 6 Plus, iPhone 7, and the likes. Let's check Galaxy Note 3. These are going to display on Galaxy Note 3. And this is how you check for responsiveness of your site. You can see that they are adjusting themselves to fit into the screen of the site, the screen of the device that you're using them. You can see it becomes bigger when I change it to a bigger screen. So that will be all for today. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. When you subscribe, also like this video, comment on this video, and please, you can as well share it to your friends and family so that they can as well learn